Well, while a lot of research has documented these advantages of bilingualism for the mind and the brain, we are only now starting to understand why these advantages might arise. And in fact, this is an important question for which we have a number of theories, but no conclusive candidate right now. One of the leading theories in the field suggests that it's the mental gymnastics that the mind is engaged, or the mind of the bilingual is engaged in, that give rise to the cognitive flexibility, a stronger memory, and ability to suppress irrelevant information. That is because, compared to the monolingual, in the bilingual mind, both languages are always activated. So the bilingual has to select the correct language, the appropriate language for the conversation, in which they will formulate the message and process the information that comes from the interlocutor, and suppress the one that is inappropriate, and possibly switch that around the next moment when they turn to address another person. While this theory can explain a number of the advantages, it is not supported by observations that even very young infants who have had very little exposure to two languages show an advantage in terms of inhibition compared to infants that have been exposed to just one language. These infants don't use two languages, they don't speak, they don't communicate in any sense. And hence we need theories that can account for a wider range of phenomena than what our current theories can. Of course, there's a number of other quite important questions that have educational implications, and in fact they might be very important for each of us as individuals. What is the best age to start learning a language? And does it matter at what age I start, in terms not only of the effort, but also in terms of the ultimate attainment of the language that we will learn? Also, what about the method? A child immersed in two languages from birth because of the family and the society they live in is learning the languages in a very different modality than an adult or an adolescent in a formal educational setting. These are do all of these forms of learning a language and becoming bilingual lead to similar advantages in cognition and in health? Well, we don't know conclusively at this point, but there is some evidence, and it's quite encouraging for all of us. There are studies that compare university students at the first year of studying foreign modern languages and at their final year of studying modern foreign languages, which find that these students do enjoy many of the advantages of bilingualism that have been found for people who have been bilingual from birth. So maybe there is a little bit of hope for all of us there, that we're never too old to start learning a language, and at any age and at any modality of learning that we use can lead to these advantages that we have been discussing. Other important questions concern language status. So this research on the advantages of bilingualism suggests that the advantages arise because of the requirements on the mind to process two languages at the same time. So in this respect, it actually doesn't matter what these two languages are. It could be English and German, a language which is quite prestigious, but it could also be other combinations of languages that perhaps don't enjoy such a prestige. They don't have this important language status. And yet for the mind and the brain, they're equally important. And these distinctions of language status don't even feature into these calculations. In fact, research that we've done in our lab here in Cambridge suggests that it doesn't really matter what combinations of languages you speak. In fact, it could even be that you learned two different dialects, so two varieties of the same language, and yet the mind will benefit from the advantages of bilingualism. So that's a very nice way of doing away with social distinctions such as language status and prestige by looking at the effects of the different combinations in the mind. Of course, there's an even further number of questions. Does it suffice for me to have been bilingual in the past? or should I be an active bilingual using both my languages right now? These and other questions remain to be addressed. What's important and what there's conclusive evidence for is that actively using two languages, actively being a speaker and a listener and communicator in two or even more languages has substantial effects for the mind and for the brain. And of course, being bilingual isn't just something that happens by itself. It requires significant effort from the individual. It requires an educational setting that will support the decision to become bilingual. And of course, positive attitudes from the family, from society, so a positive value for language learning. Learning a language is a commitment, and it requires nurturing, but then it's an investment. It's perhaps one of the best things you can do for the life of the mind. It's one of the most wonderful experiences that you can engage in.